Hello everyone.
Welcome to the Spirit Lounge podcast with me, David.
And me, Glenda.
And we are psychic mediums from both sides of the pond.
I'm in Australia.
And I'm in the UK.
And we're joining forces to discuss and talk about the world of psychics, mediumship, and all things spiritual. We might even throw some random life topics in there too.
So come with us now on our podcast journey. Let's see what's happening in the Spirit Lounge for today's episode. Well, hello, Spirit Lounge listeners. Thank you very much for joining us again here today. And I'm here with my co-host and my co-pilot over there in Australia. Hello, Glenda.
Hi, David, and hello, listeners.
How are you?
Excited for this week. I'm good.
Good. I'm excited as well because we have another very special guest joining us in the Spirit Lounge today. So we have a lady who I've been aware of and been following for many years, going back to the time in the UK where we had cable and we had the Living TV cable channel, and they showed all the paranormal shows, and they showed all the programs that featured all the great mediums at the time, the late Colin Fry, late Derek Cora, Tony Stockwell, and this lady that we have today. So our guest is a psychic medium, healer, author, teacher, mentor, radio presenter, podcaster, just to name a few. She's also been on numerous TV shows over the years, including one of my favourites, Psychic Detectives, which I was watching yesterday actually. And it's our pleasure to have her in the Spirit Lounge with us today. So please join us in welcoming TJ Higgs into the Spirit Lounge. Hello, TJ.
Hello, thank you, David. Thank you, Glenda, for inviting me on. So you just made me sound really old.
I make myself feel old.
Back in the day.
Back in the day. Because Living TV doesn't exist anymore, does it?
Doesn't. No, it's and it's actually Psychic Private Eyes that I'm on. I wasn't Psychic Detective.
Sorry, Psychic Private Eyes. That's it. Sorry, right. Yes.
No, right, yeah. Everyone calls it that. So your listeners will definitely know what you're talking about. But that's all now on Crime Channel, and it goes, I think CBS buy it and sell it and buy it and sell it. So
Yes. And it's on Watch Free UK, I think it is. I was watching it on yesterday, so yeah.
Wonder what I can watch it on. Maybe YouTube or something like that.
No, because I think the licensing. So I think there's one episode or two episodes that you can watch. So have a look. But yeah, I think because the licensing laws, they can't. As soon as they get uploaded, they get taken off. But Glenn, it's your equivalent of Sensing Murder in Australia.
Right.
It's the equivalent of that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and I know.
I like that as well.
I've worked with Kelvin, who is on Sensing Murder.
Oh, have you?
Yeah. I did a tour of.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
And Sue Nicholson is obviously from England already. You know,
Yeah.
We're good friends as well. So yeah.
Oh, I do like my favorite shows. Anyhow, let's talk about TJ, shall we? So, I've listened to I'm not a stalker, but I've listened to lots of interviews with you, TJ, on different podcast platforms and things like that. So we want to try and ask a few different questions, so we're not asked the same thing. So first, I want to start off with, I know you term yourself as a natural medium.
Yeah.
So for people listening that maybe not sure what that means, what does that mean for you, being a natural medium?
So I was born like this. It's not something, some people will train through their grief and trauma, no less effective a medium as I am, by the way. So they would decide to become a medium. I didn't get a choice. This is what I came for. This is how I always refer to Lady Gaga. I was born this way. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've seen spirit since I was born. Yeah.
Okay. So then how did that shape your experience then as a child being a natural medium? Because for myself, I didn't see dead people walking around or anything like that. So what did it look like for you as a child then, early years?
There would be, we grew up in like a 3-story Victorian house. So there was a little girl that used to come and she used to put the taps on, run the bath. My nan used to come and do our cleaning because my mum and dad had a business, and my nan would hear the taps running, and none of us were in. We'd all gone to school. But I'd be very aware of her. My pops died. My great granddad died when I was only 3 years old, and I was aware of him. But you learn very quickly to be quiet, because people I didn't know why people couldn't see what I could see. And I've only recently learned at the ripe old age of 55, I thought a lot more mediums were clairvoyant, you know. So I know not
Yeah.
all mediums are clairvoyant, but I thought it was quite, you know, quite up there with the other clairs. And one of my students recently, John, said to me, "You do know that you're," well, he always says I'm not normal. And so I was like, but because I've always seen them, I expected a lot more mediums to be able to do that. Not that you have to be clairvoyant, as you know, you guys know, you know, there's the other senses are so powerful as well. So I would know things. But, you know, like one of my examples is my dog would be green or blue. If she was blue, don't touch her. She was moody, she'd bite you. And my brother Colin used to touch her, she'd bite him. And then when I wrote about it in my book, Living with a Gift, I said to him about it. I said, "Oh, you're in my book," you know. And he went, "The dog was brown and white, Trace. You know, it was a Jack Russell." So you know, so so I learned very quickly though to be quiet, because it wasn't always accepted. And you can tell, like, you know, you've met me in person, David, I've got very strange eyes that change color when I'm with spirit as well. So growing up as a bit of a weird kid, you know, I mean, all kids have weirdnesses, don't they? You know, we all have things. So I learned to be quiet until I was about 26. So, and then they would not let me be quiet anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you ever get into trouble as a kid? Did you ever accidentally say anything that you might have picked up that maybe shouldn't have?
I think I met one of my school teachers, Miss Ware, because she was like a really safe person for me. And we had a school reunion. So, and we still have those, you know, I've known these people since I was 7. Yeah. And she said that she knew there was something different about me, because my school, it used to be called Going Up to Heaven, because we had like the top floor of the school where they used to keep all the props and stuff like that. And this is junior school. And I used to love sitting in like the little library nooks and listening to the people and things like that. Again, I thought everyone could see that there were people there, you know. And some of the older kids had been known to do Ouija boards up there and things like that. And she said you were always aware. So I guess that people knew, you know, that knew me very well, but I guess I didn't know.
Yeah.
And your family accepting of all of this as well?
Not really, no. My mum was Catholic, so but then she and my dad got divorced, so, and in our kind of like blended family, it wasn't kind of encouraged, if you know what I mean. So but my nan, my dad's mum, she knew. She used to say that I had second sight. That's what my nan used to say to me when I was really little. And I just always remembered. She said, "You're not psychic, you've got second sight," you know. So and I think my nan saw me. My nan passed just before we did the 3 mediums, so she was around when people were knowing who I was, you know. So I'm really grateful for that. Yeah.
And coming back to the natural medium,
Yeah.
do you think it's still important that even those people that are natural mediums, that they still go through like a training process or kind of program, and not just go out there and do it, if that makes sense?
Well, yes and no. So I think yes, we all need discipline. That's very, very important, you know. And some people just, as you and I, you know, we all know, they just don't have it. But I was deemed kind of untrainable. So yeah, I'd spent some time with some tutors that I thought, wow, I want to be with these people. And they were like, "But you've got to do this, 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 and this." But I couldn't do that, because I can do what I can do, you know. So I think back in the day when I was trying to find someone to help me, they tried to put me in a medium's box, you know. So and even I had a disagreement in a classroom. I won't mention the tutor because he won't be happy. And I was there just for a day, and because I was joining a group the week after, you know. So I was invited to go for this day, and so I stood up and I saw the man standing behind the lady, and I didn't know anyone in this room, you know. And I was like, right, I've got a dad, all this stuff. And I said that he had a red shirt, red t-shirt on. I could see where he was, and he was almost like quite American. That's and I'll never ever forget this, because this woman well, the teacher said to me, that's not what I want you to do. So I was like, well, but that's what I've got. And so he said to the woman, is this right? And she said, no. So I'm like, okay, well, this bloke stood behind you and he's telling me he's your dad, you know, and I described him again. And then in the end, the teacher saying, no, you're not doing it right. And I was getting really upset and really frustrated. So in my head, I'm saying to this dad, you're a really nice bloke, but your daughter's horrible. You know, she's not nice to me. And then I heard in my head, she's got a photo. So so I was like, okay. So I said, your dad says you've got a photo of him looking like this in your bag right now. And her friend sat next to her went like that. And then she went, yeah, but the T-shirt's maroon. That's
Oh,
what she said. She was so hung up. Instead of saying dark red or maroon, I said red. And then so quite halfway through this as well, I just said to the teacher, well, can't you see him standing there? Do you know, because I can see him.
yeah.
I can see you, do you know? And then he got all sort of like flustered with me and was like, well, you're not doing it right. You're not supposed to do it like that. And then ripped me to shreds in front of this classroom. So I walked out and cried. And then I went back on the Saturday to start my week. And I had a beautiful teacher, and I will name her every day of the week. And she's Leah Bond. And if you know her, she's incredible. She's a Welsh medium. I don't know how young she is now, but she's got a few years on the clock, you know. And she is an incredible Welsh medium. And she just said to me, you do it your way with spirit. You know, she said, I can guide you. And that's where really I took my teaching from, because she said, I will guide you with your skills and your gifts to get the best out of what you can do. And that week transformed my life. And every time I think, oh, this is hard, I hear her. And sometimes I catch up with her, you know, so if I go for an open day, she's there and she tells everyone, this girl's on TV at like 3 o'clock in the morning. And I'm like, yeah, and it's not Babe Station for anybody that wants to think that, you know. That's all she says, I'm on telly at 3 o'clock in the morning. So I believe that, so all the students that come to me, and I love you all if you're listening to this, they're kind of like misfits. They don't fit in that box.
Yeah.
I'm going to get a communicator, I'm going to get evidence, I'm going to get the reason for coming, I'm going to tie it up. They don't, that's not how we work. So I guide them to be themselves. So, but I think discipline is important, ethics are so important, you know, like so done. I'll send you a message, you know. I'm not your hairdresser, don't walk down the street and cut your hair, you know. So I'm really strict about that. If my students tell me, oh, you know, I had a drink and I did this, I would not be impressed. And they know that, you know. And if they don't give evidence, you know, and you've seen me demonstrate, David, if they don't give names, no one in the classroom is allowed to take the evidence until they give me names. And that's from the first day they start training with me. No names, no evidence. It's not real, you know, because if you're talking to them, they're going to give you the right information. So, yeah. So
I never get names.
But you should. And well,
I'm starting to now.
Yeah, but my thing with spirit is, if you don't give me a name, I'm not giving you the evidence. I'm not talking. You want me to talk to your relatives. I'll work for you, so as far as I'm concerned. So you want me to get to them, you tell me. And if you don't tell me, I'm not working with you. You know, so just like you guys, you need to talk to spirit like you talk to human, like living people, you know. So
I love that.
If you didn't tell me your name, I'm going to be like, I really would like to know who you are because I'm talking to you, you know. So it's polite, isn't it? So when you meet people, we always say, hi David, hi Glenda, hi TJ, you know. So why wouldn't spirit do that, you know? Like,
wow.
And he's coming in as dad. He's not like, my dad is still here in this world, but if my dad was on the other side of life, he's not going to come in and go, hello, I'm Terry. He's going to go, hello, I'm a dad, you know. Tell you, David, I'm TJ's dad. And I know the name Tracy, Colin, Peter, you know, that. And, oh, yeah, they're my brothers. I know that. That's my dad, you know. And I think people are, you know, I think David and I are very, and sorry, Galinda, because I don't know your work as much, but I know David and I are very much aligned in the way that we present mediumship. And we don't like all of this. I saw your TikTok of I'm going to poke someone in the eye. And I was like,
very scary.
If you haven't seen that,
you never know. Never knows watching.
Follow him on TikTok.
Yeah.
Oh, but it's frustrating, isn't it? Do you know?
It is.
And we all know, like during COVID, a lot of people stopped for a time, and that was a really powerful time. But it also brought out a lot of toxic, you know, you know, I can do a card reading. People are doing card readings and just sending them out. And some people are very vulnerable and they'll be like, oh, that was for me. And she said, or he said, and then it's like, well, actually, that didn't happen. Well, because it's not a lie. It's not for anybody. Do you know, I will do a card, like I've got my own affirmation cards. So I'll put those out for people and I'll ask someone to, if you want me to draw one for you. So it's for you. But I think people should be more personal with this, shouldn't they? You know?
Yeah.
So we're going to say, what do
And
you
that's-
think? It drives us mad. We talk about it, and it drives us insane.
We're very vocal on this podcast about everything you just
That's
spoke
well,
about.
I don't think you'd have invited me if you didn't, you know. So I think David's met me. He knows. You know, we're not trying to disempower anyone. We're trying to empower and we're trying to educate as well. Do you know, because there are people that don't understand. So we've got to have us talking and educating rather than, you know, the person that walks. You know, I've recently had a reading and with a very famous family in Blackpool, and I was so excited, and I sat there and I was like, you don't even know I'm psychic, love. Do you know? And I didn't even have my sunglasses. I took the sunglasses off deliberately so she'd say, aha, you're one of us. Oh my God. She told me someone's going to die in their 80s, but maybe not yet, and I'm going to inherit money. And I'm like, thank you. You know, that's not a reading, is it? And I
God,
at least for 40 quid for that.
Fear.
Yeah,
I can't stand that fear-based bollocks.
You know?
It's just, it does my head in.
But there's no one I know that's like in their 80s. My dad's only 75, you know, but my parents, the grandchildren are inheriting, not the children, you know. So, so the next generation are going to get looked after, you know. But
again, what do you get out of that reading except walking away upset?
Exactly. And the thing is, because we know, I didn't get upset, I just got annoyed, you know. So and the thing is, and really I should have said to her, listen, love. And she wrote 3 numbers down for me. And I was like, oh, I know about numerology. And she said, well, you won't know about this. And she wrote down, I was like, those numbers don't correspond to me at all. I said, I'm 7, 11, 22. And she just looked at me as I left. And I thought, yeah, love, I know what I'm talking about, you know. But as someone that didn't understand, you know,
that's the difference, isn't it?
Would be like, oh my God, you know, imagine that I did have a nan or somebody that I love that's just about to be 80. I'm going to be going home now and I'm going to be thinking, oh my God, they're going to die. They're going to die, you know. And, you know, the last thing you want is someone going out feeling like that, don't they? Don't
oh,
they?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's terrible, but it happens so often.
Okay.
And it's becoming more and more frequent. And this is, I guess, why me, David and myself started this podcast, is exactly to educate people and, you know, to get different opinions of other mediums on this sort of thing, because it's so important.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've got to, like, I work a lot in Japan, you know, and when I first started working there 10 years ago, the Japanese people were scared of spirit because they've only seen it on television. You know, they've not really, you know, it's still quite, even 10 years later, it's still, some of them are still frightened. And I say to them, you know, the people, look around the room right now, and they all look around the room because they're all beautiful students. They do everything I tell them. I love them so much. They're a pleasure to teach. They really are. It's like, thank you, God. And but they'll look around and I'll say, so in the future, we are all the spirit world. I said, and there are some really lovely people in here. There's some grumpy people in here. You know, there's some younger, some older. I said, but in the future, we are the spirit world. So take your fear away, you know, because television has caused fear, hasn't it? You know? And sometimes there's, I don't know, just nonsense. I don't even know what the word is. It's frustrating and it makes your blood boil, doesn't it? When you
absolutely
feel when you're, you know, talking to like normal people, not, oh, you know, they're coming from above, you know, like no, they're here, you know.
Exactly.
Anyway.
So going back to your teachings in Japan,
yes,
how does that differ, the mediumship, from UK, Japan?
Well,
like
it was when I first went there, it was very confused, and there's I can only teach the way I know and how spirit guide me. They teach me how to teach. I can turn up at a class and not have a clue what I'm doing, and they'll be like, right, or on the way they say we'll do this, 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 and this because that's who's going to be there, you know. And so I don't do a lot of meditation to work for spirit. For me, my personal opinion is meditation is for your own soul, your own spirit, to get to know yourself, your people, you know. you're taking yourself twice as far away from spirit because they're up there. So you've gone right down here. Now it's twice as hard to work, you know. So they were taught a lot about meditation, and because you know, Japanese culture is a lot more disciplined and it is very quiet, you know. And if I told my class to meditate for an hour, they would trust me, you know. So with me, I go, and I was told by a medium who's now in spirit, Henry, and he said, if you work in Japan, you have to lecture, you have to stand at the front. They don't get involved and you lecture. And I was like, nah, I'm not doing that. That will bore me to tears. It will bore them to tears. We ain't having that. So I warned my manager, Tomoko, and I just said, the room's going to get messy because we're going to move the chairs and stuff. And her little face was like, okay. And then they got used to it. And every time we did an exercise, they'd tidy the room back up again, and then we'd mess it up again. You know, 10 years on, they let me mess the room up and they don't get so fussed about it now. But yeah, I teach them like exactly as I would teach an English person, you know, when I'm in New Zealand, when I'm in America, wherever I am, I teach the same, you know. So, but they just do everything exactly. And one of the beautiful things about them is if I do this thing, I call it speed dating. So they all sit in chairs and you do a read and then you move along the bus, you know. So when they do speed dating, they literally will all bow to each other, say thank you, and then move along like that. In England,
oh, bless.
Yeah, in England, ta, or like,
that's it. Yeah, thanks. Next.
Yeah, next one. But in Japan, it's a little bow and they move along. It's so cute. It's so beautiful. So
it's so respectful.
Yeah,
they're special.
I love that.
Yeah, and it really gave me back my joy of teaching as well. So you know, so yeah, and my book, True Spirit, was translated into Japanese, and I was like,
wow.
Oh wow,
cool, isn't it? Yeah, I hope it's
absolutely.
It was done for
wow.
Yeah.
So
sorry, go on.
Next.
Don't let me go.
Next.
Yeah, don't
bow now.
Shut up.
So TJ, we tend to get this question quite a lot as well, which we'll ask you because you've been in the industry a long time. When did you feel it was the right time, or was there actually? It's not always at like a specific moment, but when it was at the right time for you that you felt the need to go professional? Because people do ask us. I've been training for a long time. Like, when is the right time? And so we can't really put a time on it for you. But what was the catalyst for you to go, right, now let's take this professional?
So I was, you know, and this is going to sound really rude, but I was quite a reluctant medium, you know. So I didn't expect to be doing this, and then I was introduced to someone by someone and ended up in Spirit and Destiny, you know, while I was still not, as far as I was concerned, I was doing more psychic readings, and Spirit would keep showing up and I'm like, I'm not talking to you, I'm doing psychic stuff. Don't keep coming, you know. And then eventually couldn't get away from them, you know. And I think they really decided that I believe as well, my belief is you have to have a really solid psychic foundation, you know, and the mediumship comes on top of that, and that so powerfully, doesn't it? You know, and and it is quite, you know, if you can't read a living one, you'll never read a dead one. And I say that to my students: if you can't read each other, because some people say, well, I'm not psychic, and I'm like, well, leave my room then, because you can't do spirit, because you're psychically reading a spirit person. We're calling it medium, you know.
Exactly.
So I built myself like that. And I remember one of the I can tell you this. So I was doing readings, so I had me old mobile, you know, we didn't have text messages then, so, and well, we did, but nothing, you know, exciting. And so I'd got a phone call, and I was in Tesco doing my shopping, and my phone rang, and it was a man on the phone, and this lady you know, the checkout girl could hear the bloke, and I was like, yes, no, it's about 45 minutes like that, and I think it was about 35 quid. It's about 35 pounds, 45 minutes. And what's your name, what's your mobile? And so I was writing all this, hold on a minute, so I'm writing all this down, and my son carried on with the shopping bit, and and then I was like, yeah, well, if you're not happy in the first 5 minutes, you do get a refund, you know, so you don't, you know, you won't pay anything if you're not satisfied in the first 5 minutes. And this woman, I'd suddenly stopped and looked up, and this lady, she was just looking at me, it's like, what? It's like, and then I was like, oh, she thinks I'm not, you know. So I was like, I'm a medium, like that. And that's the first time I'd said it out loud. It's like at that situation, because I couldn't get away with it. I was like, ooh, Yeah, otherwise
She's probably thinking, gee, she's good in the first 5 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. And she's booking a call. She's quite cheap for 35 quid, you know. So I did that. And then professionally, don't think I really made a decision to go professional. I was just like, I was at an agency took me on, and I just didn't really pay attention to those things, because I never wanted to be famous. I just wanted to do a good job, you know, and help people. And then so that happened, and then Spirit and Destiny, and then you know, I met Tony, and I worked a lot at his studio. You know, I was one of his teachers as he opened that for a long time. And then Colin, then I went on telly. You know, even when Cole said, like, even with Psychic Private Eyes, the story of that is I was a fill-in. So I turned up in it was a really hot day. It's August. I turned up in a pair of jeans and like a little top, you know, and all these people are all dressed, all these other mediums were all dressed, you know, and all that. But I had my suit in my car. So and there was these two like looking at me as if to say, oh my God, she's not even, look at the state of that.
State of that.
Oh yeah, state of that. And so it was all, they were all auditioning, but I was a fill-in because someone had cancelled, and Tony said, look, there's a space. Do you want to come along, love, and just fill in and have a go? But not for the job. I wasn't up for the job. So I then they'd all started. So I rushed in the loos, put my suit on, come out, and then they were like, what's she doing dressed like, you know? And I was like, and then because they were all under pressure, I guess, to perform, because all the TV company were there, I don't mean I didn't care. I was just there to talk to Spirit. So I was just going to demonstrate, you know, and enjoy that. And so obviously I relaxed completely, and I don't mean to be humorous at all, but Spirit obviously knew what was needed. The TV people like Craig, Hilary, Claire were just laughing their heads off, and I was like, you know, good job I'm not up for the job, innit? You know, so yeah. And then I got a call, you're in, and I thought I was just going to be a guest. I was so excited. I thought, I'm going to be a guest on a TV show. And they were like, no, you're the third medium. I was like, what? You know,
wow,
that's cool.
So that was kind of like, that was when I was 38. So I'm like 55 now. So I still don't know if I went professional though, David.
Well, I think you're a professional. But was that hard though? Because when I watch the behind the scenes of like the Sense in Murder, for example, it feels like it's a really tough job to do, because they're given no validation. They're just talking, but they're not given any validation by anyone that's actually there. Was that the same for Private Eyes?
Yeah. My audition was, I was actually at the Arthur Findlay College for a week, and so I had to sneak out of there for a couple of hours, and I hate photograph reading, and I think at the college they were doing that as one of the exercises, and I thought, result, I'm getting out of that today. Get to the producer's house, and she's like, yeah, right, there's a camera at the end of this table, I'm here, there's a camera here, there's a camera there, and there's envelopes on the table. And I was like, so I was just, you know, auditioning again. I just thought, I'm going to be a guest. That's what I was after, you know, that would be really nice. And I just asked if someone could sit at the end of the table, because it's quite hard just talking to yourself, you know, even though so they sat, Claire actually sat at the end, and I touched both the envelopes, and one I knew was a letter. It was just words, so I was like, oh, that's words, that's the letter. And then the other one, as I touched that, I saw her stand over Claire, and Claire is also quite petite, long blonde hair. So Sally Ann Bowman sat on Claire, so I could see her. So it was so I always had someone sit there for me, so Spirit could sit on them, and it was mostly Claire. She didn't mind, and but no information, none at all. And again, when we did Moira Anderson. She'll stay with me in my heart forever. She was murdered by paedophile, and it was actually Sandra Brown who brought her dad to their attention, you know, to the crew's attention, and I got all this information. He was behind a pane of glass, and Moira was in front of me, so I didn't have to touch him. He couldn't touch her. You know, that's how they showed me from Spirit. And then I got all this information, and then I slowed down a little bit, and then the producer, Michael, who was filming us and stuff, director, producer, whatever you call him, he just said, we need to know what he does for a living. we need to know what you did for a living. Like that, I got shouted that in the back, and then all of us, but they'd stop the cameras to say that to me. And then I was like, right, I've got, and he went, no, stop. And they learned really quickly to tell me to shut up, because as you know, once it comes, it comes. And I saw the Simpsons bus driver. That's how they showed me it really kindly, if you know what I mean. Because I said, I used to see the Simpsons and the school bus driver, and the guy was a school bus driver. So we knew that that was right. But that's the only interact. And sometimes we did one that was, it was like a historic one where the guy had died in the barn, and all we had, there was no photos to work on. There was nothing for us to work on. So there was, they had a jacket that belonged to the ancestor. So I had this modern jacket in front of me, and I had to put my hands on that. And they were like, and David, the producer, he said, if this one doesn't work, it doesn't matter. Well, that's like a red rag to a bull to me. And I'm like, well, if they've got a story, we're having it, you know. And so I put my hands on it, and then I was back in the day in this, I can see it now. It's like I was in a stable, I could see the man, I could see the murder. But as I started talking, all I saw out of the corner of my eye was him going like that. He'd got into shot like there. You couldn't see him, and he was going. So I'm like, I'm keeping going. and one of them was a beautiful boy called Leon who was murdered, and they've that's been solved as well. And I got the Bon Jovi song "Shot Through the Heart" and "You're to Blame," and that's how we shot through the heart. So it was a song that they gave me. So from behind, so. But yeah, just reliving it. Someone asked me the other day actually that I should talk about it. Go back through the episodes, because people are still watching them. Stories behind them, because Maura Anderson was some of the things you don't know from that is when we were in Scotland, Sandra Brown, her family, so the guy that murdered Moira, his next door neighbour was Fred West, and that the family lived next door, and no one knew that. And I was on the bus, and I'm like, I'm just getting Fred and Rose West vibes, and things like that. And we had different camera crews, and he was saying, don't go off on that tangent. I'm like, I'm not going on a tangent. I'm going on what I know, And the girl that was there first, his stepdaughter, the first one that Fred and Rose West murdered, was the neighbour of Sandra Brown. So
as soon as you started saying that, my face started twitching.
Yeah. Well, and they all went to live in Australia as well.
Oh, really? Because I'm like, my face is twitching as soon as you started talking about that.
I hope that's a good sign. not get her off, not a bewitched one.
Bewitched.
But yeah, sorry. See, once you get me talking, I can't shut up.
But I love it.
It's fascinating, to hear all these stories. Like, we could sit there all day and listen to the stories. It's amazing. Wow. So how do you think that mediumship has changed, over the years or through the world? Like, since you started?
Yeah.
When you were 21, like it's only yesterday. So
thank you. I think it's well, I spoke, my son is 33, so we often have conversations about what's needed in the world, from his perspective and from how I see it. And he said, like, right now, and again since 2020, people are after more of a psychic message rather than a spirit message, and I think a lot of mediums have almost like dissolved themselves a little bit by playing into that role. Do you know what I mean? So we are psychic mediums, we're spiritual and we're psychic mediums. But so I think I've not ever dissolved my mediumship, and I certainly know you haven't, David. When we're on that rostrum platform stage, wherever we are, we talk to spirit. We are not working with a psychic connection at all.
Yeah.
So the information is pure spirit, So, but I do feel like a lot of mediums have gone very psychic, and I actually think they don't even know the difference. Do they? Which is and I'm sorry to say, because it pains me to have to say this. It actually hurts my heart to say this, that I have witnessed in the last 2 years some lazy mediumship, lazy mediumship. That is, so it feels like, let's have the quick fix, and don't get me wrong, psychic readings are super powerful. They help, they guide, exactly. But if you're going to be a psychic, work as a psychic. But if you're saying I am a medium in this moment, then flipping well be a medium. Do you know? I've seen evidence
Exactly.
of someone actually who was teaching one of my students, and I was like, and he critiqued her, and I was like, you work better with spirit than he does. You know, not you're better than him. No one's better than anybody else. You know, and I thought, I'm going to come along and watch you. And the evidence was, I've got a man here that's had an aortic aneurysm. It's basically a heart attack. Does anybody know this? And I'm like, oh, I won't say the words that go through my head, you know, as Sherlock in it, you know, and I'm like, really? And then like 12 people put their hands up, you know, because who doesn't?
Of course. Yeah.
You know? And that to me is lazy. And that's what, and even my students that come and watch with me, they're like, you would not let us get away with that, would you? And they come and I take them to these places, and I'm like, no, I'm showing you what is out there, and I'm telling you what spirit are guiding me, you know, and us to do is to take it back to the old ways, you know, as well. And I also have the privilege of working at the College of Psychic Studies, which is like a dream come true for me. And I taught a class there recently, and I'm not ashamed to say that I'm ashamed that she was upset, but I upset a lady in my group who was, you know, quite a grown-up lady. She was in her 70s, I believe. And I said, I don't protect myself from spirit. My energy does. You know, it's like my intention does. I don't need to face south, east, or west. It's like I'm here and I'm talking. I'm doing it with love. Who's going to hurt me? Do you know?
Exactly.
And I don't open my chakras, and I certainly don't close them, because if they're closed, I'm dead, you know. And I kind of, and I'm a little bit, you know, I've got to learn to be a bit more professional when I work there. And but they do love me, so it's all right. But I was like, whoever's telling you to open and close your chakras is trying to kill you, aren't they? And I laughed. Well, she was very affronted by it, and she was like, but I have to open. So she's been given basically like a little way of working, maybe to give her confidence. So if she believes she's opening or closing, she's opening so she can work, and then she's closing so she's safe from spirit, you know. So my kind of like and she did leave at lunchtime, unfortunately, but her mum was a medium, and so you know, she's an old school medium, her mum. So I just said, well, what did your mum tell you about chakras then? And she was like, my mother wouldn't have known what a chakra was. And her mum was a bit, so I was like, that's my point, you know.
Exactly.
Stuff that's being added on, it's like we're having a conversation now, you know, we all had a wash, we all got dressed, we all did all of those kind of things. That's our ritual to come and talk to each other, you know. And we're having a conversation, and I think mediumship needs to go back to the truth of it, because it's too watered down. It's too like, let me read this, let me do that. No, talk to them, bring the message, you know.
Exactly. You shouldn't have to do all this ritual to prepare. You should be able to just go, okay, I'm ready to work, let's go. And
that's exactly
it works. That's it. That's how I work. Like,
exactly.
The reason we get on, David and I work very similar, so it's
sound the same as me.
We just bang. You should be able to go. There's no sitting in the power. There's no meditating. There's no, because that just brings you down. So
I encourage my students to sit in the power when they're not working, to build their energy for spirit, you know. So if they feel like they're exhausted before they come to a class, and to get the world out of the way, I've taught them all to have their own power song. So it doesn't have to be some pling pling music, you know. It can be whatever they like, you know. So like one of my students, Philip, his song is "I Feel Good" by James Brown. So he knows, spirit know. It's made me go goosebumpy. If Philip plays that, Philip's up for it, you know, and Philip's working, you know. So it doesn't have to be something, you know. I couldn't sit to pling pling music anyway. You know, I find that really, it takes my energy down. So
it does.
And you need to get your engine going, don't you?
Exactly.
Get it revving.
I bounce around a room, and I've turned up at churches and things like with 5 minutes to go, and they worry that and I'm like, yeah, just let me have a week, me on, and I'm on, you know. So and they're like, oh, you know, it's like, no, I don't need to be ready, spirit do, you know. So
absolutely,
we're up for it. You've seen me at where I'm having a chat, but 5 minutes before I go on, no one's allowed to talk to me. That's my rule. So I just bring myself, and I'm like, right, are we ready? Even like when my husband's out on tour with me, if he's backstage, he knows he's not even allowed to kiss me. It's like, you can kiss me at like 7 o'clock, but hot 7:25, don't come near me, you know. And but I think that's like my way of shutting everything else out. It's just me and them, you know. So that is one thing I do, definitely.
No, I tend to do something similar. I say, right, it's 5 to 7. Anything from now on that comes in my head is spirit, and it's not me.
Exactly.
And you set yourself up on a good path that way.
Just like me last week, I was waiting for, I was stood there in front of everyone. I'm like, okay, just give me a second. And then I just heard, get on with it.
I love it. When I did a few years ago now, it was December. I know it was December because it's that month, isn't it, when you start slowing down, and so the cold's going to get you, you know. And it was the last demonstration of the year, and my lovely friend Pete used to drive me, and all the way there I was dosed up on Sudafed, on coughs. I was probably overdosed on all this stuff. And I'm like, so I had extra makeup, so I'm back in the room of the church, and I'm doing all this. And I was just looked in the mirror, and I was like, oh, I don't know how I'm going to do this, like that. And this spirit man stepped in, and he was like, well, it's all right for you, I'm dead, like that. So I was like, oh yeah, Trace, shut up, you've got a cold. You know, it was almost like I'm dead, my daughter's there, shut up and get on with it, you know. So,
I love it.
They are funny, aren't they? You know, you're like, it kind of, you know, get to the point, Trace. You are still a living, breathing human right now. And they're all waiting for you to talk to their loved ones.
Love that.
It is.
Yeah, and I slept all the way home.
So, like me, I know, look, we're quite similar in the fact we're not airy fairy mediums, right?
No.
Not at all. So, if no one's ever seen your work before, how would you describe your style, your mediumship?
Do I have one?
You might know it, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I just for me it's just like us now having a conversation, you know. And I have expectations, like I've told you, you know, if you want to talk to me, same as in life, you know, if I want to know your name, I expect of spirit, and I don't mean that in an arrogant way, because I want them to be able to give their message to the person they love. So these are my rules, you know. So I have those rules. I want precise evidence. I don't want to know what colour your hair is unless it's weird, you know. I don't like, although a nan with grey proper perm and tabard, all sorts, the other night, and I had students in the audience, and I'm like, do as I say, not as I do. You lady, but she'd already told me her name was Ivy, so I was quite happy with that, you know. But yeah, so I just have a conversation with them, and sometimes I have to remember to slow down a little bit, because there are slower, quieter people there, which when I first started, if you weren't fast, you weren't going to get a message, you know. I'm never going to be able to talk to you because I was too fast. So now, and you'll see, you know, when you see me, and I shouldn't, everyone's going to watch this now. So in between every message, I'll have a little sip of water, and that's
I do as well. Yeah.
Sure, that one's done. Next one, you know, even if there's been a gate crasher, and I'm like, do you know Malcolm? No, hold on, I'll have Malcolm back a minute. Hold on, thank you very much. Wait, Malcolm, I need a sip, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I have been called a comedian, so which I don't mean to be.
I'm saying though, I can't stand there doing boring medium, or what I would call boring mediumship. It needs to be light and up, and
it does.
So it's just
be real, hasn't it? You know,
yeah.
Yes.
I always say, if I was dead, would I come into a room with people sitting there with their hands like this, you know, facing up to you know, and sort of like all you know, I would not go into that room. So I need to find a medium that's going to be like me, that's going to say the things that they want to say, you know. And I think, you know, I was discussing it with some students recently, like back in the day, it was communicator, evidence, reason for coming, tying it up, you know, you must know what they died from and stuff like that. But some spirit people don't want to talk about their death, you know.
Yeah.
No, they don't.
On that, I'm like, if you want to tell me how you died, that's lovely, but I want to know how you lived, because we are encouraging the people you love right now in this room to live their life, you know. So and some of the things they talk about were like, I read for a lady just the other day, and she was just talking about, her mum was just talking about like sunshiny days, picnics, and all the kids playing, you know, and that I know that can, you know, that could be a generic message without her name, her daughter's name, the kid's name. You know, once they've given me all that, I'm happy with that kind of thing. But the girls, you know, her daughter said, I've been sitting here reminiscing and looking at the photos of that. And it was a particular time her mum was able, and her mum wasn't able from sort of like her 50s. So her mum wanted her to remember, this is me running around with you, you know, we're having picnics. Don't think about me sat in that chair, you know, and I can't help you. And I'm almost like an invalid. Invalid is not a word I like, but that was the mum's word, you know. So remember I'm alive. That's what we got to do. And I love it, you know, when they are a bit stalky and tell me things about them, you know.
Oh, I love that.
I
it's good when being
told
nosy.
things we should never know about.
I was filmed at a theatre, and some of my friends came along. You know, they don't ever expect a message, and this nan came in, and I thought, gosh, she feels really familiar. And her name is Victoria, this nan, because she always comes in like Queen Victoria. And I thought, oh, that reminds me of my friend's nan. You know, then I'm giving all this information, and then it was like that, me and Mrs. Jones, like there was an affair situation going on this, and I'm like, she's talking about someone having like two blokes on the go. You know. Anyway, my eyes are then vroom, like that. She didn't let me look at her until I'd said all of that. And I'm looking at my mate, and I'm like, and she was like, I was like, is this for you? So she was like, yeah. I went, what do you mean? Like, none of us knew, you know, none of the girls, none of us knew. This was a big secret. And she was like, that was a secret. And I was like, not to your name, is it? You know, and now I will say, if you're up to no good or sitting with someone you shouldn't be, like, move now, you know, or leave now, because it will out you, you know. And I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
And the thing is, people don't understand it. I've got to do a hens get together, right? And it's coming up, and I'm actually nervous because I think, there's going to be something happen here because someone's going to be outed. I can feel it. You know, when you just because spirit just don't care about secrets.
I probably should. Well, I was in a pub in Camden. It's called the World's End, and it's quite a famous pub with musicians.
That pub, yeah.
Well, it's got about 4 loos for about 5,000 women, you know. So I was desperate for a wee, and I was with, rest toilet, I'm not. I was with my mate, and she said there was a bridal party, so they've got all the things on, and so my friend Deb said, if you let her go for a wee, she's a psychic, she'll give you a reading. And I was like, I'm about 12 vodkas in, I should not be, you know, reading the newspaper, let alone somebody, you know. So anyway, so I thought, but they let us go, so I thought, we're not doing a reading. So I've gone in and I've come out, and they're all stood in a line, and I'm like, the bride, you know, the one that had the thing on hasn't got the thing on anymore, because I'm like looking, I was like, why did you take that off? And she was like, how did you know? And I didn't know. They did, didn't they? And I was like, well, I wouldn't marry him like that. And my friend Deb's trying to take me out of the toilet, and I was like, yeah, I said, because he's knocking off your best mate like that. And then this other girl goes bright red and screams, and then they're all looking at each other, and we left very, very quickly. So yeah, I hope that doesn't come to pass for you though, Glenda, but let me know.
Awkward.
I'm now. I'm going to be messaging you going, oh my God.
But screw always know for a reason. You know, why are we talking about pride stories?
See? Oh, no.
Everything there's, and I can't tell you the story because it's a little bit expleted, but I will kind of say that me and a lovely friend of mine, Greg Smith. I don't know if you know Greg. He works a lot on the South Coast. He's
heard the name.
He's a beautiful man, and he's a beautiful man, you know, inside. And he works at my TJ event, you know, that you're coming to next year. And so we're all sitting, and he was on the teacher's table. So we were having a conversation, you know, because people think we all talk about lotus and flowers and blossoms. Don't they? We talk about wrong things sometimes. So I was saying to him, if we talk about something now, spirit will know. And he was like, what do you mean? So anyway, we had this very inappropriate conversation, and I'll share it privately, but I'm not sharing it with all of you. Like, I'm sorry, don't even send me a message because I'm not telling you. And there was the word ginger was in it. Let's just say the word ginger was in it, right? So one of the other students come up, and he offered us some ginger gin, like immediately after this conversation. like that. I went, no, it's got to be the whole conversation. So he's already panicked that someone's heard, in the room. And I was like, no one heard us because of where we were sat. So anyway, so we go in and we're sitting there, and one of my students, Dan, he's like a beautiful, crazy energy. He's just, beautiful. And he's like my child. And he came bouncing in, sat in between us, sang a song that used all the words that we said. And then he just stopped and he went, it's not even the words to that song, is it? Got up and run off. And because before we even had a chance, he'd just gone again. He's got ADHD as well. He's just like bounces in, he's like Tigger. And me and Greg's like, what? I was like, I told you they listen to everything.
Yeah.
Try it, listeners, try it. Talk about something and then wait for it to come back around.
Wait for it to come back. Yeah.
It does.
Me, I apologise.
It does happen. Oh my gosh. It's scary how much it happens.
Yeah. But and then people don't believe, do they? They're sort of like allegedly and I hope you don't mind. I just want to say something about Colin, if that's okay. Colin Fry.
Of course.
I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you guys if it wasn't for that beautiful man. And I forgot what I was going to say now. As soon as I go to start talking about him, I get all emotional. And no, don't know. Yeah, well, I'm going to be doing something with him this month. I'm going to do a Zoom call for people that knew him and met him and all those things. So if anybody wants to join that, but I don't know what else I was supposed to tell you. Obviously, I'm not allowed to
say it.
How funny is that? I was like, Colin, yes, no, not saying that, Trace. Yeah, I'm going to do it.
Blocked you.
He has, but literally, I can't even tell you what I was thinking about, let alone what we were talking about then. So, but yeah, so I'm going to do like a little memorial. He passed on the 25th of August, so on the 25th of August, I'm just going to open a Zoom room, and anyone can come in, chat about him. If you knew him, if you met him, if you watched him, if he gave you a message, all that stuff. And I'm going to tell you some of our stories. So I won't be recording it though, because our stories sometimes can't be put back out into the world.
Well, that'd be nice. It's still being honoured. Isn't it?
Yeah.
It's 10 years. It's his 10th anniversary. So of his passing. So yeah, I think
beautiful.
Some of the young people don't know who he is. You talk about him, and I don't know who that is, and I'm like, oh my god, okay, Carl.
Yeah.
So
we got to keep remembering our pioneers. Like they're so important.
Absolutely, and we always remember like the greats. Like Gordon Higginson is remembered everywhere you go, isn't he?
Everywhere.
But Colin was like how I would deem like the modern medium, wasn't he? Because he put it to television. I know some like Doris Stokes had been on TV in the past as well, hadn't she? But Colin was out of more of a modern, the same as John Edward, wasn't he? He was like aligned with them. And he opened the doors for television. So rightly or wrongly sometimes, because it got a little bit sticky, Derek, Derek has been gone for 5 years now. So it just feels like a heartbeat, doesn't it? That they're
not... I don't know where time goes, honestly.
No.
So that brings me to my next question, because I'm all into this stuff. But do you believe in soul contracts? Because like if someone was, for me to go, oh, TJ, like, look how far you've come, look at all the things that you've gone through. Do you think that's part of your soul contract? Or do you believe in that sort of stuff?
I do. I feel like I signed it in blood. Yeah, definitely. Again, I was having a conversation with a friend last night, like the families that we chose to be born into, the friendships, the experiences. And a lot of mediums, as we know, I'm always kind of like more connected to mediums that have, the only way to say it is have gone to hell and back, and have had a point when you've been here. And I'm not talking about we want to, take our lives, but we just want to go home. We've got that point where I don't want to be here anymore, and a lot of the people I train and come to me are those people, because they're so connected to home that they're having to do this bit, so I absolutely believe in my soul contract. I do think I might have had a few vodkas before I signed it, and so because I was like, why don't you do that, Trace? Why don't you do that? But I'd say to my students to embrace their pain as well, because that's our superpower. Because everything I've gone through, I can help other people with my pain.
Yes.
So, and that's so definitely soul contracts, 100%. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, good. See, we're soul sisters.
You can be an honorary sister, David, as well. That's all right.
Thanks. I've got the eyebrows for it, which Colin Fry once mentioned whilst I was in an audience reading with him.
That sounds like.
But it wasn't even talking to me. It was talking to my friend who I came with.
Oh,
who I went with. He went, "Your dad's talking about what's wrong with his eyebrows?" We just burst out laughing. Okay.
But there's so many mediums that I meet that don't believe in it, and I kind of go, how could you not? Like, there's so many, we go through so much, and you think, even if you just stop and look through the generational things of your family, it's there.
Yeah, I don't understand why people, and I, you know, I'm always like, don't trust a medium that hasn't been through hell, because how are they going to help you? Do you know, they're not going to have both ends of the scale, are they? And also, like, our shadow work, and that's been very aligned just the last sort of like couple of months with myself, you know, because I can be a moody person. I'm human, you know, I do swear, I do drink, I do all the normal things that everybody else does. Yeah, but so does spirit, don't they? Do you know, you don't have to be a total vegetarian to talk to spirit, because if you've got a burger eating like beer drinker, he's going to be like, how can you help me? Do you know? So you know, I respect if you want to do those things, but you don't have to do those things, you know. And I think too many people have all the fluff and not the
yes,
don't they?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's it. And there's too much focus on that airy fairy stuff, and you can't do this. I heard the other day, you cannot connect with your spirit loved ones or your spirit guides if your room is cluttered. What the hell? Like, I understand I like order and things like that, and I like things put in their place. That's not going to stop me from connecting to my loved ones or talking to spirit. It's like, where do people just pull this stuff from?
I don't know. I do like about 20 readings a week and classes. And if you saw my desk, you'd probably think, oh my God, I need someone with OCD to come in here and sort it out.
Yeah.
You know? So I'm not cluttered there, but you can't see this.
See it.
Yeah.
But and on that note, Glenn, you know what I was saying about working in Japan? There was a beautiful lady that stood up and wanted to know, and she said, it has been written. So it's been written by a foreigner to Japan. So one of us lot, probably either, I was going to say probably an American, only because there's a lot of American teachers that work there, but it could have been an English teacher. I don't know. And she said it was written that you can't have coffee, you can't eat meat, you're not allowed to smoke, you're not allowed to drink, and you're not allowed to have sex. So she said,
I'd be out.
Be a good medium. Those were the rules, and it had been written. So I'm like, so she said, TJ, it was translated back to me, because everyone in the room was going, woo, like this. And I'm like, what is she asking? Because I don't know yet, do I? Do you know, I'm waiting. And so I was like, okay, so one at a time. There's a Starbucks on the desk next to me, do you know, because I live on Starbucks, because, you know, I love coffee. Starbucks on the desk. So I was like, I eat meat. So, you know, and I drink alcohol. And then we got through them all. And then she said, and what about sex? So I said, well, and he's now my husband. But I said, you could ask my boyfriend. He's at the back of the room. Everyone, I had like 50 students, and you know, they all sit military style, you know, before we start. 50 students go, whoop, like this. And he was like, he's quite a shy person, my husband. So I was like, yeah, don't believe in any of that nonsense. And I remember saying to her, it's probably really inappropriate, go out and do all those things, and then come back to class and see if spirit will connect to you.
Yeah.
Do it right now.
Yeah, see you later.
At the same time.
This is my new contract. You must do every one of those and then come back to be a medium.
But it's so bad, isn't it, that they believe this, you know.
Yeah, I don't know where they get it from, honestly.
Nor do I. And
what about religion?
Well, I've got every religious text on my shelf here, because I like to know, do you know, because we are kind of abused sometimes by very religious people. And my mum's background was Catholic, you know, and then my stepmom and dad, I used to go to like Christian Union and stuff like that when I was little. I love the idea of, Jesus for me, ascended master. I've got huge pictures of Jesus in my room where I work, but I'm not religious at all. I'm not religious.
Yeah.
I'm spiritual. I'm not a spiritualist. And sometimes when I work in the spiritualist churches and I announce that, people will be like, she can't talk to spirit then, can she? She's not a spiritualist, So and one thing that connects all of us, which I love, even like sometimes I've found Muslim men, not women so much, are really anti me when they find out what I do. I've had 3 or 4 experiences. So that's why I've educated myself. And I said this one, he was a taxi driver and he refused to come and get me later because I told him what I was doing. So and I said, because in the conversation I said to him, but you believe in angels, don't you? So he said, yeah. And I said, so do I. I said, so we have got a common denominator, so if we can only find one, we're going to find something, but he was not happy of what I did, because people think we're devils, don't they?
They do.
Yeah, they do.
We're so light, it's unbelievable, aren't we?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
But it's
what do you
always
think?
about religion. It is religion that
Yeah.
it comes back to.
Yeah.
And what you've been raised to think and feel and all of that. Because
Yeah.
I grew up Muslim,
Yeah.
with also Catholic,
Yeah.
so a bit of everything.
Yeah.
And I don't follow any of them. So
no, a bit of all of it. I think I understand why people need religion for their own peace, for their own self. But I think we've got to be, again, the same with spiritualism, with spiritual work. You've got to keep it real, haven't you? Why would God, your God, whoever he may be, want you to do something negative or believe something negative? The positives pouring out of you, but why these negative things? Why is that person, why should that person be stoned because of what they believe in? What God would actually say, yes, that's a good thing, So, and I just think sometimes, well, back in, because I've studied religion as well. So like, here, back in the day when all the Victorians would go to church, you'd have the posh people, the ones with money up the top, and the us lot down the bottom, the lower ranks. And if you didn't go to church, you were fined as well. So it wasn't kind of like you want to go to pray, you're going because you have to be seen there, like you're
seen there,
and as we know, like if you had the upper classes, one of the sons would be the Lord, the next one would go in, would maybe run the farms or the land, then the third son, you're going to go and be a priest or a vicar. So it was never a calling, so a lot of our background, our history is not about having a calling, whereas we, our soul contracts, we've got a calling, haven't we? So I think religion should be called love, and I think we should all sign up for that. That's my idea of religion.
I always say that it's love. It comes back to love. Everything comes back to love.
Yeah.
So what do you think makes a good medium?
Honesty, integrity, keeping it real, and that's it. And well, you're serving, and no flipping ego. Heart-led mediums, that's the power. And Spirit told me that before COVID, so about 2018, because I'm a trance medium as well, but they tell me stuff before we even start whatever's going on, and they told us about COVID was seen, and I'll tell you that story if you want to know. But they told me, they saw me standing in a line, and we were in an army. So no one was stood in front. So there's no like generals and all that stuff. We stand here, and I am supposed to, in my little bit of work. So David in his little bit of work, you're in your little bit of work, makes a massive lot of work, doesn't it? If we all do it, and we all stand with each other. Like my students, whether they've done one reading or 1,000, are the same as me, because they're standing up for Spirit, they're standing with their love, no ego, and giving a message. Even if they've just said, I can feel your dad, and that person knows that and feels that. To me, that's perfect, so we've got an army going on. But I know with COVID, I was in Japan in 2019 in November, and they had a Seiko clock up the Roppongi Hills where I work, and there's also a Starbucks. So after work, I go for a walk up the hill, take a photo of the Seiko clock, take a photo of the Tokyo Tower, go to Starbucks. And then the second or third time I went up there, they told me the clock was wrong. And I was like, it's a Seiko clock, it's for the Olympics, the clock can't be wrong. And then the following morning, I was doing a reading, and the whole room started shaking. I had my interpreter and my client, and the table in the room was literally doing this. And I'm like, and the interpreter says, earthquake, like that. So I'm like, okay, we're going to get under this table. It's like, carry on. So, okay. Next day, there's another one in the morning, another earthquake. I go up to the top of the hill, please don't do an earthquake while I'm out, and take a photo of the clock, the tower, send it to my husband, and clock's wrong. So then I've got that night, get in the bath, and there was another one. I was in the bath, and the whole room, all the water was going. I was like, I'm not going to be in a bath when there's an earthquake in Tokyo. So there was all of these, and you could feel that, it was up to 6 and 7s, which they would damage. But
that's big.
It's all on rollers. The whole building. I'm like about 20 floors up, so the whole building is just rolling like this on little ball bearings.
Yeah.
That's what they have. So I don't know if you have that down in Australia as well with your high building.
It feels like I felt like it's like a roller coaster. It's almost like you're going up and down. Yeah.
Feel the plates moving. I feel it.
Yeah.
And so I went and I have a client out there who's become a friend. So he sends his man because we need an interpreter. And I told him, I said, something's coming to Tokyo because the clock's wrong. And I said, I thought because of the earthquakes, there was going to be a massive earthquake again in Tokyo. And I said, it's at the time of the Olympics, something really bad is happening in Tokyo. And to the point that family he has homes all over the world. They went to Hawaii and went to their home in Honolulu. So they weren't in Tokyo. So they got stuck in Honolulu for the whole time, because I don't know if they were happy with me or not. But they left Tokyo. But Tokyo kind of shut down, but didn't. It was very, you can imagine, very restricted but regimented. So they probably did it, a good way. But yeah, it was like it's not happening. So I was like, well, something's going on with the time of the Olympics, and it felt catastrophic. But I didn't know COVID was coming, but I knew that was happening.
Yeah.
So when it's got cancer, because of COVID, I was like, oh, that's what you're not like, oh yeah. I'm like, oh, that's what you mean.
Yeah.
They do it in kind of a sneaky way. They did it with a family years ago that was supposed to be going to Thailand. I didn't know where they were going, but when I read for her, I don't use a crystal ball, but I love crystal balls. And I had one on my desk. I just had this, I've got to put it on my desk today. And even my client, she's seen me before, and she was like, what's that, Trace? What you got that for? She was going, are you going to read that for me? I was like, no, I don't read crystal balls, but it looks nice, isn't it, on the desk? And big fluorite one, so it's purple, green, blue.
Yeah.
And anyway, halfway through the reading, I'm looking at this ball, and there's turtles in it swimming, but they're drowning. The turtles were drowning. And I was like, wherever you're going on holiday, the turtles are drowning, so you can't go because you drown. And that was the message. And her husband rung me, and he was like, right, witchy poo, that's what he calls me, and what's going on? She won't go on holiday now because you've told her we can't go. And I was like, no, the turtles are drowning. It just made me so scared for the family. And they would have been right on PP, right in the middle of the tsunami. So they've got 4 sons, so those 2 and 4 boys. Who knows what would have happened? How many would have died?
Wow.
Yeah.
It's amazing you say that, because we go to Thailand every year, and my husband says to me, have you booked Thailand? And I said, we're not going. He says, what do you mean? I said, we're not going. You need to get onto this. We're running out of time. You need to book. I said, something's going to happen. We're not going.
Yeah.
And I never booked, and COVID hit.
Yeah. So you've got to trust it.
And I would have lost all my money. I would have lost all.
Yeah. Or you would have got there and not got home.
Exactly.
Yeah. I was in New Zealand working when COVID hit, properly, and to get home to New Zealand took us 43 hours. And we got into Australia, and they were like, you're going over there. And we barely were allowed to be in Australia or out. Hong Kong shut down, so we had to come back via Singapore. So we got stuck there. But in Singapore, we were going through all these tunnels, and temperature things were all up.
Yes.
We're being screened all the way home. So I'm sure, what on earth is happening? And we get back to London, Heathrow. No, just got off the plane, got in the car and went home. But there was nothing. And I was like, well, over there, there's all this, they weren't letting the ships dock in Auckland. You could see, last days in Auckland, you could see the ships on the water. And Yeah. And then I came home and run my TJ and Friends. That was like about a week after. And then they shut the world down on the Monday, literally as we were leaving. But I made them all have
Wow.
anti-bac. And they're like, why are you doing this? Well, when I was in New Zealand, you know, they're all saying anti-bac. So if we all have anti-bac, we're going to be safe. There was 280 people there that year. Not one of them got COVID that weekend. So that's cool.
It's been the anti-bac.
It's the anti-bac.
Yeah. See, and I come all the way over from here, go to Arthur Finlay College and get COVID. Never had COVID and get it at Arthur Finlay College, and then had to go up on stage just like you, full of bloody antihistamines and pseudoephedrine with David, and I'm like.
You did well though, my love. You got through it, didn't you?
I did.
You got through it.
Oh, crazy.
Oh, you'll have to tell me when you come over again, because it's literally on my doorstep.
I'm going to be coming, hopefully, manifesting for next year, so I can come over.
Let me know. I'll come and have coffee with you. It's literally on my doorstep. I live 10 minutes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'd love to.
Yeah.
I'm lining it all up.
Yeah.
Wherever.
We'll invite you, Dave.
Oh, thanks. I'll come along. So, a couple more questions. One I wanted to ask about, because I don't go in for all this fear-based stuff, and neither does Glenda, nor do you. What are your thoughts on? I think I've heard you talk about it before, but I can't remember. What are your thoughts on like demons and attachments and all that nonsense? I call it nonsense.
I call it man-made. So attachments, I've been told I've got attachments and all sorts, and then the guy found out who I was, and he was like, oh no, I think I might have got that wrong. I think so, mate. Because if my guides let me have an attachment, he's fired, you know. So I do think that energy is psychic, and I think anything that negative is man-made and built out of fear, you know. So so people are buying into it, so they're making that energy bigger and bigger and bigger, you know. I can't get my head around demonic stuff, you know. And weirdly, you know, I was going to say to you about the Annabelle doll. Do you know the comedian Matt Rife has now bought the Amityville house, hasn't he? He now owns the Annabelle doll, and there's the stories, aren't there, that the guy that's just recently been it's I don't know, it's boss, I don't know what you would call it, has died because Annabelle has basically killed him, you know, in however way that's been manifested. And my Cassie, my PR lady, she said, would you touch the Annabelle doll? I was like, of course I would. So she went, well, you're crazy. I was like, yeah, but it's a doll, you know.
A doll,
so but it's now got a fear attached to it, and it's like anything, isn't it? You know, that if you believe that, you can manifest it inside yourself.
Absolutely.
And I used to work where I used to do my readings was in a shop that was owned by a witch, you know, and she's a very credible witch, you know, and I would never call her a white witch because there is no such thing, you know. She's a witch. And some of the girls that were in there were making poppets, you know, and they were telling me all about them, and I was like, I don't believe in that. And they were like, yeah, we can make a poppet of you. So I was like, okay. So they took some of my hair, they dyed it, you know, it was then this poppet is me. And they all had poppets of themselves. And if one of them would like put a pin in it, they would be like, oh, like that, and they'd feel it. So I was like, this is cool. Like that. Don't believe it. But off you go. So honestly, that doll was undrawn and quartered, and I didn't feel a thing. And they're all standing there like, yeah, honestly, they were like, ding, like this, really lots of intention. I was like, yeah, but I don't believe it, so you can't do it to me because I don't believe it.
Exactly. Can you just make her like skinny and curvy and big boobs? Like
that would be quite nice. And a bit taller, a bit younger. But I didn't believe it. But because their belief is so you know, powerful, and your mind is powerful, isn't it? You know, your mind,
intentions.
Yeah. So I think a lot of that is scaremongering. A lot of that, even the ways of mediumship, you know, oh, you can't do that because, you know, I've had so many readings from professionals that don't acknowledge I'm a medium or tell me I can't be a medium. You know, I've got recordings of people, even at, you know, colleges and centres and all that lot, that are very revered. I wouldn't know me, you know, probably think I was a greengrocer quicker than I'm a medium, you know. So, so I just think putting someone's energy down is also like, because I could believe that, couldn't I? Think, oh, I'm just delusioned, I'm not a medium. You know, I listen, whatever they tell me, I listen, and I'm not really what people think. No.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So one more question before we get into the last questions about you and what you've got going on. So if you have any words of encouragement for any mediums out there who are, you know, again, doing this work heart-led, that have those times where we think, oh, I can't do it, or, you know, my confidence has dropped or whatever. I want to quit, because I get that on a daily basis. That's me talking to myself.
No,
can I do this more anymore?
Yeah, can I do it? Yeah.
You know what? If you don't go through that, you've got no business being a medium. That's what I would say to everybody, because there's all my students go through that. And I'm like, this means that they're leveling you up, or they're bringing something new in. You know, you lose your confidence. Someone will try and take your confidence away from you, as we know in readings, or everyone's got an opinion on you, haven't they? Do you know, a good bit of advice that I was given years ago was only care about what the people you care about think or say about you. Everybody else is noise, you know, so don't worry about that. But your own noise, as you say, in your own head, I think, you know, there's times when I think, could have done a better job, you know, I could have done this. And I think the minute I don't do that, I've got no business doing it, you know. So confidence will come the minute you find your own groove as well. You know, like I'm 25 years in now, so I can, you know, a medium asked me on Saturday evening, do you get nervous before you demonstrate? And I said no. And I think she thought I might have been being a bit funny, but I trust spirits so much. Why should I be nervous? They've got to be nervous because they've got to talk to me. You know, they've got to right, you've got to try and get this person to understand you. So, but I think when you go through those confidence, you know, sometimes with some people it's that they're not following the path they're supposed to follow, you know, so because some people don't think healing is as credible as being a medium, you know, or some people don't think being a medium no one will ever hear of is just as credible, when it's just more than credible. You know, if you've done one reading, you're an amazing, you're an angel, you're an earth angel, you know. So when you get to these confidence crises, someone somewhere or invariably will say, without you asking, oh, I was thinking about you today, and they'll put something on and say, thank you for that changed my life, or that you know, you saved my life, or something like this. And that spirit saying, right, you can have this little moment now, get over it, because these people are reminding you of who you are, you know.
It's so true.
But as you go along your path, have those moments, because when you come out of it, you know you mean it, and you know why you're carrying on. And this is why, you know, we've seen so many mediums that will fall by the wayside, if you know what I mean, you know, because they're not doing it for the right reasons. They've had that confidence and then they've gone off to be, I don't know, something else that's easier, you know. So for their energy, you know, it's going to be easier, because you've got to be dedicated. You've got to give things up to do this work, haven't you? You know, when I'm doing my circle, you know, it's like every week on a Wednesday I've got to be there for my circle. So if I want to go and see something else or do something else, I can't, because I'm dedicated to that circle. Your dedication will get you through, you know. And journal, maybe.
So true.
I wish I was told to journal back in the beginning, you know, so because I've got so many wonderful moments that unless I'm kind of interviewed or asked, I don't remember, you know. So when you have a good night, you know, journal it. So that when you're a day, say, last week this was it. And a lot of the time when you're demonstrating, it is, you know, and our audience, however they are formed, need to bring the energy as well, you know. And and you sometimes think, you know, I had a demonstration at the College of Psychic Studies. My last demonstration there was painful for me, you know, because people didn't seem to understand where the evidence was coming from, you know. And I'm thinking, but I'm in the College of Psychic Studies, they should all know what I'm doing, you know. And so, but then I didn't give up. I was like, well, I'll have more evidence then, and I'll say something else, and I'll say something else, and you will have it, you know. So embrace the no's. Get in the power of the no. If you're not making it up, it's not a no. You've either misinterpreted or they don't know, or they've got psychic amnesia, you know.
Absolutely.
I say that as well,
I had it last week. I kept giving this lady, her dad kept talking about the number 6. It's so important. You have to understand. It's so important. And she's like, oh, I can't think of it. And at the end of it, she came to him. She goes, oh, my God, it's all came to me now. Like, the 6th, it happened 6 weeks after he passed, and he got this and this. And she goes like, I know what you mean now. It's you feel like, I trust what I'm getting, and I know it's from spirit. So
I won't let it go. If I've got something,
No.
they've got to know it. And I won't, when someone says, oh, I'll take that. And I was like, no, you won't. I don't do carrier bag mediumship. You either know it in the room, you ain't taking it home with you. Do you know? So I want to know right now, you know, and so they'll be like, what are you talking about? It's like, no, you either know it or you don't, you know, and if you don't, or you don't understand, I'm going back and I'm going to find out what it is, you know. So it's if and you know, when people talk about praying before they work, I'm like, just don't let me down and I won't let you down. That's my prayer before I work through.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We show up, they show up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Now,
So
I have to ask a very
go
important.
on.
I'm asking my favorite question. I ask everyone that comes on. Now, come on, you've got to be on my side here because I've got to win.
Okay.
Now, PJ, do you believe that pineapple belongs on pizza?
No.
Yes.
No.
Thank you.
I really
That's
can't.
2 to David. I've won everyone.
No, that's no.
Absolutely.
David, you got one. You got
Thank
another
you.
one.
Yeah.
No.
I agree.
I can't
Yeah.
lie. You'll know if I'm
No.
lying. I'm psychic.
No. As I always say, pineapple belongs in a fruit cocktail or in a fruit cocktail or actual cocktail itself, and that's where it belongs. And that's it. That's it.
Oh, I love it.
So, TJ, let's before we let you go, let's just talk about your New Hertfordshire studios that you've. Am I correct there?
I've just opened a studio in Hertfordshire, so I work at
Okay.
studios as well. He'll like that plug, so that's for my friend Kev who runs that. But yeah, I've been quite reluctant on having a space because I travel so much. So I wanted something, you know. So I said to them, if it's meant to be. So I've got a cute little studio where I'm going to do my podcast from. So I've got a space away from, you know, here with all my dogs and all that sort of stuff. And I'm going to teach my circle there. So I do an in-person circle. So that's going to be nice. And then I'm just going to do some Saturday workshops maybe. And I'm going to let other mediums use it, you know. So I'm going to invite some guests to come and work on there on a Saturday. And I've got a lot of teachers that I've trained as well. So it's a space for them to use as well. So yeah, it's very exciting. 1st of September.
Oh, it's not open. Oh, 1st September. Okay, you heard it here first, people. 1st September, exclusive.
And I'm going to do in-person readings there as well because I haven't done them since we got locked down, and it kind of becomes easy, you know. And because my clients are all over the world, but a lot of the local ones, well, people will travel. I used to have people traveling from Australia, like a couple, and I was like, listen, there's 2 of you, there's only 1 of me. Bring me to Australia. You only have to buy 1 ticket then.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, so for my in-person, for people that want in-person, I'm going to be offering that again. Only like a couple of months though, so you know, just to get me back in being with people. Hey.
Exciting.
Thank you.
And what can student expect from your development circle? What does that look like for you?
So my development circle is fast and furious and fun. I do the weirdest exercises. Well, I don't. I listen and they say. And I love my students because they all look and say, how is that going to work? And then they come back. You can hear them go into the room like, oh, what's she done now? And then they come back all smiled. Oh, that, you know. So because I do online mentorship as well. That's coming again in when am I starting that again? November. Online mentorship and in-person mentorship I'm going to be running at a beautiful church up in Derby, Derby Central, Forrester Street. Alan, the president, is allowing me to use that space to do that. So then we've got a proper rostrum for everybody, and we've also got the local community from the church can come and have readings and be part of the audience. So I'm going to be traveling to Derby from February next year for 6 months. So if anyone wants to do that, I'm very excited. And my mentorships are very affordable, so you don't need to get a mortgage for those. Yes.
Marvelous.
Awesome.
Awesome. One last question. I saw this advertised on your Facebook as well. Your Psy Kids course. Yes. So tell us about that.
Well, because I was in hospital, we've had to reschedule that because that was going to be tomorrow. So, and I didn't think I would have the energy, you know, and you've got to have energy for those. So, but in September, one of my students is going to be running a Psy Kids online. So that's for children, young children up teenagers, where we had a teenage circle running last year, and the person that was running that as well, we think they're moving abroad, so we're not sure. So but they backed down a little bit. So Kate is going to be running that, and so once a month the kids can come together and really just be themselves as well, because a lot of young people that have got ADHD or autism, will come into that mix. It's just a place for them to just be themselves, and find themselves. So and I've also now employed some of my students to do beginner circles. We've got a woman's circle as well, but we're calling it a lunar circle. For every new moon there's going to be one, and we have a man's cave circle coming as well. So for all you
David
boys, well, it's nice, isn't it, because sometimes the guys are left out, aren't they? And it's strange, isn't it, because most of the famous mediums are blokes, but when it comes to circles and things like that, there isn't one. We always have our girl stuff. So Simon Varage is going to be running that. He's pretty cool. So so we're going to have a boys circle, girls circle.
Exciting.
It'll be on the website in the next sort of week. I think that'll all be, if everyone checks in sort of middle of August.
I'm so interested in this kids one. I don't know why, I've just got this thing with kids. And is that going to be an online thing as well?
It's online, So because we've got children from all over the place, clients, students all over the world. So it's quite nice for them to come together. And I think as well, if you in person, we are thinking about bringing one to Hertfordshire. So Kate's we are in talks about that. But for those young people as well, to have a space where they can just be unapologetically themselves, that's what we want, so, and they can talk about the things that happen and not feel like they're going to be judged by it. They're all going to have weird and wonderful things, aren't they, to share. So I think it's important. They won't be taught how to connect to spirit. It's not about talking to spirit. It's about talking to their own spirit. It's psychic more than anything. And one of the biggest things that our young people should understand is their own energy. Well, we adults should as well, shouldn't they? Energy, they are like little octopuses, and they've got all these tentacles going out, and they're collecting all the time. And if they're not taught how to release that energy, then that can become and manifest into depression and all sorts of things. So we will be showing them how to let their aura shine as well, clear that. It's very important.
Well, if you need an Australian ambassador, reach out. I'm happy. I'm happy to work with you. I love all that.
Yes, you're going to regret that.
I love it.
Love it.
Definitely.
Anything else, TJ, you've got coming up you want to mention?
Well, we've got TJ and Friends, which we've only got about 8 rooms left for that, so it's pretty much sold out. And you and David are coming, aren't they? You and Bill, sorry, David and Bill. Sorry, I'll come into that. So we do, it's like a pick and mix of everything, so you've got demonstrations, workshops, classes, community, and our motto has always been enter as strangers, leave as friends. So and it is like a real family, so that's pretty cool. If anyone would like to come to that, it's no pressure, that one. So if you're in a class and you're not enjoying it, you can leave, unless you're watching me in trance. You're not allowed to leave that room, obviously. And I'm also bringing back Trinity next October. That is more of a healing weekend, where we look, it's all about you. It's not about you serving other people. It's about you serving yourself. That's very important. And so I'm rubbish at these kind of things. And we're also going back to Shropshire. I did a week called Gateway to Spirit in Shropshire this year. We took over like this whole manor house and grounds. Oh my gosh, it was lush. And I only took 22 students, and we just, one of the gentlemen that was there said it was life-changing. And you're like, as a facilitator, if someone says that to you, you're like, yeah, you rocked it. That's all on the website as well. So tjhiggs.com, easy peasy.
They'll put all your links in the show notes as well, so people know where to find you and where to keep up to date with what you're doing.
Thank you.
So thank you very much I know it's your day off today as well, isn't it? So we appreciate you coming on and sharing your wisdom.
Is it to have a chat about spirit?
We love talking.
It's been a pleasure. Yeah. So thank you very much. It's been a pleasure to have you on.
Thank you.
And they're welcome anytime. And thank you to all the listeners that have tuned in for today's episode. We hope you enjoyed that, we really do. But yeah, look out for the show notes as well, where you can find TJ and connect if you wish. But until next time, it's bye from me.
And bye from me.
And bye from me.
See you soon.
Thank you so much for joining us in the Spirit Lounge today. We hope you enjoyed the discussion.
Yes, and if there's a spiritual topic you'd like us to discuss, or if there's a spiritual question you'd like our input into, then please send those topics and questions to us at glenda-marie1@hotmail.com, and we will get to them as soon as possible.
Lastly, if you could like and share this podcast, as well as leaving us a comment or review about what you thought, then that would really help us out and we'd be very grateful.
We would indeed. But it's bye from me.
And it's bye from me.
Join us again soon in the Spirit Lounge.